Welcome everyone to the next Observability Clinic, automating SLO best practices, scaling SLOs with Dynatrace Monaco. Hopefully you have seen the previous episode where we talked about how to efficiently define SLOs, the 7-step process inspired by Stephen Townsend. But now we want to see how this actually works at scale with Dynatrace. You take it away.
Yeah, let's take a look at this. So my name is Arijan Zenuni. Again, I am a technical product specialist working out of the Dynatrace One organization, where we personalize learning and onboarding of Dynatrace. We also provide a premium service where you get myself, a technical product specialist, to help your teams plan your success with Dynatrace. Let's take a look at how we can scale SLOs using Monaco. Just a little teaser of what the results of this webinar will be. We'll get this great dashboard here, which visualizes that 7-step process for us, starting with my customer groups, my services, those indicators for those services, and then finally our SLOs. So I know, Andy, you had a previous webinar where you spoke with Brian Chandler on some of the 7 SLOs that you can get started with within Dynatrace. Looking at this webinar, we had a little bit of a more manual approach, kind of a beginner to Dynatrace SLOs, where we were manually clicking within the UI. Again, this is something potentially in a smaller scale works well for some customers, but for our more enterprise customers with hundreds of applications, we can understand how this could take some time. So what we want to do today is kind of take this Monaco project that's been out there with Dynatrace and then build on top of that the ability to generate great effective SLOs. So kind of picturizing what Monaco is, or introducing Monaco here. So some things that I've personally experienced is trying to generate different scripts for different Dynatrace API use cases. Definitely at that beginning stage of the Dynatrace configuration model maturity, you're generating different scripts for different functions. We've built on top of that using configuration files within those scripts. And then finally, the idea came to do monitoring as code. It's a CLI-driven automation tool of deploying Dynatrace monitoring configuration. So we're no longer worrying about what's happening behind the scenes with the Dynatrace API and how the tool manages that. We're just simply managing configuration files. So this tool allows you to create, update, and version your monitoring configurations in Dynatrace efficiently and at scale. So you can kind of get an idea of where we're going with this in terms of SLOs. We can create Monaco projects for SLOs, and that's exactly what we did today. A little bit more about the functionality of Monaco. It allows you to deploy JSON configurations via API. You're not worrying about that. Monaco does it for you. It allows for templating configurations, so you could easily copy and paste them across different environments. It follows the CRUD model of creating, updating, and deleting configurations within Monaco. It supports multi-projects, so you can have different environments within the same project. Lots of use cases there, and the ability to just simply reapply configurations with the same results. So that's the great thing about Monaco there.
Yeah. And maybe just to interject here quickly,
sure.
If people want to know more about the inner workings of Monaco and kind of learn it, there's also another observability clinic I did with Christoph Renders on monitoring his code, so where he really walked us through that open source project. And what we've also done is Dynatrace. It's open source, everybody can use it. And there's also, we did an announcement at our Perform conference in 2022, just a couple of weeks ago, where we also talked about software intelligence as code. This is really then the way we see Monaco being applied by our customers at enterprise scale to configure everything that Dynatrace provides. And I really love it. It's all declarative, version controlled, perfectly fits into your GitOps model, and it has a fancy, really cool name.
Exactly. So kind of looking at how we're applying SLOs with Monaco. So again, we start with just a YAML file here where we define our declarative properties of our SLOs. We store those in a YAML in a SLO Monaco project. Monaco does its thing and generates those SLOs for us. So we'll basically be using this model to apply several SLOs in no time. So now going into the demo itself. Let's see here. Here we are. So here's that SLO Monaco project. In this project, you'll find currently 4 different distinct entities that we can create SLOs for. So for the application, key service metrics, key user actions, and services.
Could
And
I
then
ask
for each
you?
of those,
Could I ask you?
yep,
Sorry to
go for it.
interrupt. A little bigger from a term of a font size. Maybe can you zoom in a little bit in
Let's
like
see,
a
I've never,
control plus or something like this, whatever it is, if it works, right? If you can, I think on this is Visual Studio Code, I believe.
yeah, I think what I can zoom in is the actual text
Ah,
easily.
perfect. Yeah, that's good. Awesome. Now
Okay.
that's fine enough. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, this is just a directory setup. We're not really worrying about what's happening here. It's more about what's happening in the actual YAML files. So for each directory, there is going to be a subdirectory of either an availability focused objective as well as a performance focused objective. And then there's some scenarios where a calculated metric is required. So you'll have subdirectories for those as well. So let's take a look at what is currently deployed in the environment. So we'll talk about easy travel in no time here. So let's take a look first about what's currently deployed. So here's kind of the dashboard that we currently have. There's currently some SLOs defined. We're going to be taking the time to add one more service on top of this set of dashboard here. So first, again, we have a customer group. We're focusing services. We're providing service to this customer group here. On this customer group, we have a couple of services that we are providing. I've set this overall as just a general application health and then a booking service. So the Easy Travel application is just a demo app that has been around for quite some time where we're providing a booking simulation for digital customers. So one of the services is a booking service. And then for that booking service, we have a couple indicators that provide the booking itself. So each one of these indicators is focused on the booking service. Today, what we're going to do is actually add on top of it. So another functionality of the application is the actual authentication of login. Let's see here, let me just refresh this page. Okay. So the login itself, there's some preview user passwords by just simply clicking this. So this itself performs an authentication. So we're going to focus our SLO on that feature of the product. It's a service, the login service or the authentication service is what we're going to focus on. So if we go in the tool or in Dynatrace, what we have is the authentication service. This is the service that provides the login for our users. So we're going to set up SLOs on this. Within the project, I am using tags to be able to endpoint the SLO to this service. So we have the project easy travel tag, the service authentication tag. These are the tags that we will be using to tag this SLO to this service here. And then furthermore, the actual request that performs the authentication is this guy here, the authenticate. We'll also be setting up an SLO on this. So let's start first with how you can use SLO Monaco to set up an SLO for the authentication service. So bringing up the Visual Studio one more. Let's see here. So first we start with the actual calculated. So we can either do a service performance or an availability. Starting with the performance, I've already gone ahead and set up the calculated metric for us. So a little bit step ahead here, but what we do first is define our configuration here. In this case, Easy Travel Authentication Service. And then this references to this configuration here. where we define what our calculated metric will be. So in this case, authentication service dot perf to indicate performance. And then here is where those tags come into play. The first set of tags is that project easy travel. The second tag is the service authentication service. So this combination of tags may differ for your organization, but it's great that instead of referencing IDs, we can just reference tags. So having a good tagging practice will definitely help to create SLOs in an enterprise-wide solution here. And then finally, our indicator of response time. So in this case, I have a 5,000 or 5,000 millisecond response time indicator. And then the next step is actually defining our SLO itself. So in this case, I don't have the example in place, so I'll be working on creating that here. So one thing is the actual configuration. We want to copy that over and then make sure we're referencing the right JSON file here. And then I'll just take this as an example. Again, we can just copy and paste. That's the beauty of the configuration as code here. So we want to make sure we fit our authentication service. And then kind of a naming convention I came up with for SLOs is defining the environment you're working with, defining the application you're working with. In this case, we're working with services. So I have the service indicator here. And then what services am I working with? I am working with the authentication service. And then finally, what type of indicator or objective are we trying to reach with this SLO? In this case, performance. This is just a naming convention that helps make it easier to identify SLOs when you're looking at them in the overview page. In this case, the project is easy travel. The function is going to be authentication service there. And then our SLO targets, we could either have a 95%, 97. I'm going to just stick with these standards here. And then our customer group, again, we're dealing with the end user, so I'm just going to call it a digital customer. Our response time is our SLI, so I'm going to keep that as the keyword. And then instead of booking, we are working now with, or I'll just call it login, just to be a little bit clearer there. And then working with Monaco, we work with these with the CLI. So Monaco is the keyword to initiate the CLI. The environments, YAML, we didn't speak on that, but it simply provides the environment that this SLO will be configured for. The first thing we do is reference the calculated service metric. And then the second thing is the SLO itself. So this will run the project in this service project, specifically the performance, and then it'll run this calculated metric and then the SLO itself. So I will run that.
And if I quickly reiterate, sorry to interrupt you, but
Sure,
basically what I've learned in your first session, in the more like what are good SLOs and how to get started, you explained that SLOs are really based on SLIs, which means you need a metric that counts the good signals and then you divide it through the total signals. So really with that metric here, you specified, I want to count the total number of requests that are faster than 500 milliseconds. This is why you have a calculated metric. And then you say, I'm defining an SLO that takes that metric and divides it by the total number of requests on that service. And then my target is 95% and the warning is 75.5. And then you also, I like the grouping, because I know you also explained that you want to define SLOs and you want to assign it to a certain customer group, to a service. And then I assume this will then also drive the generation of your dashboard even. Yeah.
Exactly. So the next thing, once you've defined your SLO configurations, you've ran them with Monaco, I developed a Python script that simply takes those configurations. I had run this previously, so let me just delete this just to show you that it will generate a SLO or Monaco project for us. So in here, we can just run the Python script. It will it'll iterate through all these projects for each environment, and then create us a dashboard JSON and a Monaco project for us. So let's see. So then in this new dashboard Monaco project, that this script that just generated, it'll provide you a YAML file where in here we could say, I want to set this to my user. So my user will get access to this dashboard. I can share this. So these are just configurations that are added to the dashboard JSON. I can share this. I can set it as a preset. I can set the default time frame. I think, let me just confirm. Okay, clinic. I just want to make sure that since Monaco is able to identify an existing dashboard and then just simply edit it, having the same name will make that happen for us.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So I will save this, and then I'm going to have Monaco go ahead and generate that dashboard for us. So here's the command to run the dashboard Monaco project. So if you remember, we only have these two services. Just refresh this. So now if we scroll down, if all went well, we should see a new service, the login service. Awesome. And then that login service has this indicator. We simply tied it to the performance service indicator. And then here's our SLO for that.
That
so yeah,
is
I could
really awesome.
I could easily go through all these. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanna also add to this. You showed it. Can you go back to your Visual Studio Code?
Sure.
Because you have basically, you're working on your local environment here, your local directory. Normally you would put this into your Git repository. That means developers can put their Monaco, like their SLIs, their SLOs in their source code repo. And then as part of your delivery, as you're building your, let's say, new containers and you're deploying it, one of the steps would just be exactly what you did on the command line, applying this configuration to your different Dynatrace environments. This could be a dev environment, a staging environment, or a production environment. And with this, the monitoring configuration or the observability configuration, in your case, SLOs and dashboards, basically travel as the source code, as your artifacts travel through the different stages, the monitoring configuration will get updated accordingly. And this is the beauty of it. That means you can integrate this into existing Jenkins, GitHub, GitLab, Azure DevOps, whatever you use. And what we also provide from a Dynatrace perspective with Dynatrace Cloud Automation, we also provide orchestration where you can define sequences. And one of the sequences could be apply Monaco, then do a deployment, then do a test, and then even evaluate if after the tests are run, for instance, all the metrics are good, or after you deploy into production, are my SLOs that the developer specified working within the boundaries? And if so, everything great. If not, you could even roll back. And I think this is just, it opens up so many opportunities, but in the end, it gives the power back to the engineers that can now define everything in a declarative way. Everything is as a service, everything is as code. And that's why I love it.
Yeah, exactly. Well put, Andy. So yeah, I think that should kind of finish up our demo there. Here's some links that you can kind of reach out. I have this on my GitHub, so you can reach out to my GitHub there to download the SLO Monaco project and then build on top of it, add it to your Git pipelines. There's some documentation on Monaco and a little bit more about the SLO best practices.
Yeah.
You want to finish it off, Andy?
I wanna finish it off. Yeah. Thank you so much. These were, if you have not seen the first one, which gave more high-level overview of how to get to like 7 steps to get to efficient SLOs, that was also inspired by Stephen Townsend. Thanks again to New Zealand. We'll give him the credit that he deserves. And then this one here, where you showed us how we scale all of this to Dynatrace Monaco. I want to have you back as soon as possible, because I'm pretty sure as you are refining this, as you are working on your Git repository, as we are applying this to more customers, there will be more feedback, more best practices, and then we'll show this off again. And
yeah, that'd be awesome. To get this in a pipeline, that would be great.
Yeah,
for sure. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, of course. No, next time I want to see you demo this all in combination with everything we have to offer in cloud automation. That would be perfect.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Okay.
Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.